You're good to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We are calling to order the meeting of the Blighted Property Review Committee for the City of Williamsport for August 17th, 2022. We do have a quorum. I think Mr. Nardi is absent, and then the zoning hearing board representative. There's some question as to who that is going forward. Mr. Nar is taken on the role from the city, from the building, the bureau codes, and everyone else is still in same people. So moving forward, first subject is approval of the minutes from the May 18th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second, Ms. McDonald, thank you. Any comments, questions, corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, I guess just as we do in the Zoom era, any negative votes on approval of the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Subject 2 is review of properties, and going forward, if we can do each of these properties as a separate item, I think that's probably best, just so that, because sometimes we have more questions about one or table one or whatever the case may be, and just kind of keeps it cleaner. But so we'll do these, I'll break them down separately. The first property is 513 7th Avenue. Mr. Nar.
Yeah, basically, this has been on the Blighted property review. We do send certified letter out to let them know what the process of it is. However, we did get all of the mail outs back. They did not sign for them. And at this point in time, like I said, we have no way to basically, we're working through the process of notifying them, but the certified letters that we had came back unsigned. I did speak with the individual, and he has come in to apply for some building permits, and he's bringing stuff in. But as far as being certified or anything like that, he did not receive anything at this point in time. I did call and leave a message for him, and he just left me a message saying that he would be in to speak with me and go over those issues with the 513 7th Ave property.
Mr. Nart,
Yes.
Is he getting building permits for a different building?
No, just for the 513 7th Ave. And again, that was the voice. I left him a voice message. He returned my call. Why he didn't obviously get the letters, but that's where everything else goes to anyway. But I was able to reach out to him via cell phone yesterday, and he left me a voicemail saying he'd be in to discuss permits for the 513 7th Ave property.
Well, I mean, when he comes in to discuss the permit, can't we just hand him the paperwork then? And
that was my intent to do that, at least get in front. But at this point in time, I haven't been able to get in front of him to serve anything.
Okay. Is that owner local-ish?
Yeah, he's local-ish. He's here sometimes, and he's not. I believe he has 2 residences in the area. But as far as all his mail and stuff, he gets here to a PO box in Williamsport.
Okay, he doesn't have.
And again, I will, when I get with him to sit down with the building permits and discuss that, all that's going to be added to that, so that I have a good viable address, contact information, and things of that nature to discuss with him moving forward.
Okay. All right. So with that one,
and I apologize. I'm just kind of like stepping into this role. So things.
Totally understood. There's no question about that. We just, I'm just trying to remember from, what Mr. Girardi would tell us, how these kind of things, when, it would be returned uncertified, then you had to go to the sheriff's office. But it sounds like this is a little different situation, because you actually have verbal contact.
I was able to get a phone number for him and leave him a voice message, and he returned it.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep that one on as a topic for discussion at a subsequent meeting. I'm sure we'll want to know more about that.
Correct.
Okay, there's no action there. That was just an update. The next one is the property at 2117 Cummings Street. Mr. Nar.
Yes, 2117 Cummings Street, I believe, was requested to be put on the blighted property. We have had discussions. I have had discussions with the owner. It is vacant. They're trying to rent it. There was some outside cosmetics done. There's new siding and things of that nature. The main issue is going to be the fact with sewage. Basically, they have to tie on to the city sewer. They are requesting to do tank, septic system. And at this point, I spoke with the water authority and everything, because there is an old system there, and they just wanted to continue to use that. And because they do have access to tap onto it, we're not permitting that. So that's a process that I'm working through with the sewer authority to see basically what they're going to do and what they're going to require for payment, as far as in order to do that. It has to go down through that alley. But as far as blighted wise, it's just vacant. They do want to renovate it, and they have, like I said, they put siding, downspouts, things of that nature on there, but it's just actually tying in for utilities before we'll allow them to move forward. So I'm not sure we want to keep this or have this put on a blighted property. It's just a vacant property that new owners have taken over and are moving forward with that project.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't meet your codes officer's criteria to be blighted, we kind of learned this in our year and a half or so we've been doing this now, then yeah, it frankly shouldn't come to us, I guess, or should be taken off the list. If they're not going to certify that it meets the conditions of blight, we're certainly not experts to do so. We merely rely upon the expert opinion of that office.
Aren't the utilities also key to blight?
Not according to that. They do have to have water and sewer. And again, we're working that issue with the sewer authority to get fees to them so that they can make that determination, because at this point in time, the code's not allowing them to use the septic tank system that currently is in there and had been in existence in the past.
So they have a building permit to make these renovations to include connections to something. They're disputing whether they can connect it to an existing antiquated system, and the authority is saying you're not going to do that, but it's basically, this is something, at least there's some sort of progress going on here of some sort.
Yeah, there is progress. The only thing that they don't have building permits as far as for the sewer, because they're working with the sewer authority to find out what the fees are and what the requirement is. Then they'll work through that process with the sewer authority and then tap on fees through us permits at that time. But there are some, again, they have had permits for siding. They put siding on, they put downspouts in there, and they are working on building permits. Interior renovations other than the utility, which is the sewer system, is the only key issue.
Okay. So you'll keep us, I'm sure your office will keep a watch on that progress. And if it should slide to a point where it gets back to no activity, then I guess your office will recommend we revisit it.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yes, Ann.
Sorry, Gary, where I'm having trouble like Cummings Street. Why can I not remember where Cummings Street is?
Because I believe, and again, this is coming from the sewer authority. In order for them to tap in, they have to come down through that alley to be able to tap into their system that way versus coming out off of that area.
No, where is Cummings Street?
Cummings Street is between Poplar and I can't think of the name of the street.
Newberry. Is it Newberry?
No, not Newberry Street, but it's south of Poplar. It's east of Poplar.
But it's in Newberry.
It's in Newberry. I'm sorry.
So did it have like a
Newberry? I'm thinking street.
Yeah. Did it have like? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's in an alley.
Okay. Did it have like a cesspool or something, or did it had its own on-lot septic or something?
It had an old system that had been there years and years ago, and that's what they were using. And we did not realize this, obviously, until it became the leak and stuff. And at this point, we won't certify it to allow that because they do have the ability to tie into the system.
Gotcha. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, so hopefully we'll never hear 2117 Cummings Street, because the owners will work out their deal with the authority and they'll fix it up. And that's the goal ultimately of the Blighted Property Review Committee. Okay, so moving on to 1524 Memorial Avenue, Mr. Nar.
Okay, what you have is the property at 1524 Memorial Avenue. We did send them a certified letter, basically putting it on the Blighted. However, I do have a letter dated June 2nd, 2022 from their solicitor. They are in the process of suing their insurance company to determine the amount of coverage so that they could work on fixing this up. And the attorney's asking us to basically have a stay in order till they get the court case resolved, which is Cosentine versus Birch, et cetera. And it is in there is a court date as far as Lycoming County, within the Lycoming County, to determine that case. So basically, again, they're waiting on the money from the insurance company, and they're battling with the insurance company on the exact amount that they're getting back. So the attorney has asked us if we could do a temporary stay till they get the court case resolved. Then at that point, we can move forward with obviously getting it off the Blighted with permits and things at that time. But right now, because of the court case, they can't actually take out permits to basically do any restorations until that's resolved.
What's the docket date for the case?
That what I have is 19-0638. It's in Lycoming County, November 2022. So it is a couple months away.
Is this the longtime owner of that property that is making the insurance claim at this point in time? Or is this a new owner?
Well, it's Don and Laura Cosentine who I have as the owner. I'd have to go back and research to see if how far back that they do own it. They are the current owners, and that's who we did serve the letter to.
Okay.
Can I ask a
15.
question?
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. Jen.
So the minutes from the last meeting indicate we talked about 1524 memorial and I think 1526, right? Because it's a double.
It is a double, so
And-
it's for both of them.
Okay, well then, but this agenda said only the one, and so I didn't know if there were separate owners for.
It's for both. They own both. It's not one of those separate owners. It's all the same owner.
So
They own
the agenda should,
1526.
the agenda
Yes,
should.
and I apologize. That was my error.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to clarify because I know sometimes doubles can have separate ownership, right?
Correct. Yes. There's probably a list of about 15, 20 within the city.
Okay, so when we're talking about this, we're not just talking about 1524, we're talking about both.
We're talking about both, correct?
Pat, you see what I'm saying there, Pat
No, I
Martin?
understand. Yeah, it should be 1524 and 1526 Memorial Ave. And I know this property. I pass it frequently. And I don't know that if we've been served, our process is done. I mean, I don't know there's any stay that we can.
No, they'd have to request a hearing, right? They would have to request a hearing,
Right.
us. They can't just ask us, correct? Isn't like we have to process.
That's my
That is.
recollection of the next
that is-
step.
I will reach out to the solicitor and have him submit formal paper as far as to set up a hearing.
Yeah, because that would be a departure from the policy under the Commonwealth law of how this works for us to we've done in fact, I'd like to talk about that in a minute and get an update. We've done things at post hearing where we've given some latitude in things with people who've shown some intention to do some sort of action and mitigating circumstances with supply chain or whatever the case may be. But it still require the next step. I think Austin White would say, we still need to go to the hearing for the next step for us to take that action.
I'll reach out to both Austin and this attorney for the case and work on getting a hearing set up.
Okay. Yeah, I think it could be at our next regularly scheduled meeting, probably.
And Gary, just so you know, we're not experts. We just kind of have followed what we've learned along the way. And so we really look to you to say, okay, this is the next thing that we have the authority to do here. And so as you kind of, grow into this role with us, we'll be really looking more to you for kind of those next steps. But just like we said, I just don't think we can do that without going through the next formal process.
All right. And that's fine. And I should have clarified a little bit better that we wanted to basically work on setting up a hearing at that point.
Fair enough. That will look, then I guess we will look for a hearing at a future meeting related to 1524 and 1526 Memorial Ave.
Correct.
Okay. So that concludes the review of the properties that your office had put on the agenda. Subject 3 just notes commercial properties. I'm not sure what that means, so I'll throw it to you, Mr. Narr.
Well, I just basically wanted to do a follow-up. I was reading the minutes from the last month's, for the last time that we had a meeting. And there's 2 properties that were in concern, obviously, was the Hoyer building and on West 4th Street. And the other property was the building on the corner of Washington Boulevard and Penn Street, which is the former Stroman building. What I can tell you with the Washington Boulevard, the former Stromer building, he has come in and applied for a demo permit. However, he is holding off on that reason, and the only reason why is because under the new guidelines that we have here, there's new criteria that we're requiring them for him to do a demo. So he has to get an engineer in there and submit all of that. And I don't want to bring that before council at this time until we get confirmation as far as if he can. What he is looking at doing is doing demo to the top 2 floors of the building. But until I have certain stuff from a certified engineer, drawings and things of that nature, I don't want to bring it before council until I have that to see he meets that criteria. Then at that point, we will do a demo application to city council at that time. So that's where we stand. And I know he is getting that together because he obviously is in a hurry to do that. He was issued a interior demolition permit through Mr. Girardi that does not go through council. Same thing as his property with the Hoyer building on 4th Street. It's the same situation. He's doing interior demo to the Hoyer building for the ability to basically put a tenant in there. Does not go through council, but the building on Washington and corner of Washington and Penn will go because that's a partial demolition to the exterior of the building. So I just kind of wanted to update you where we were in that process.
Go ahead, Ann.
What's the intent for the Stroman building? I mean, with him demoing the top 2 floors, what's he planning on doing with that?
I believe there was some issue with a roof, and as far as with the roof, has created probably some issue to basically take it down to the 2 levels. But again, we are requiring an engineer. I have spoken with Barry Islet and Associates, who we use for our BCO, and the demolition permit requirement requires this to happen in order for us to do that. I also did ask for a walkthrough of the facility at this point in time, and we are working on scheduling that with our interim BCO, myself, and the owner of the building.
Thanks.
Other questions? I have a couple, but I wanted to yield to other members of the committee. Okay, I guess I'll ask mine, because I don't think I don't remember even discussing the Stroman's building, but I do remember discussing the former Fowler Motors building, which is the small building, used to be the Saab dealership. Anytime I can get the word Saab into the minutes, I like to. That one that has like ivy growing on it obviously has not been occupied in, I would think, pretty close to 2 decades at this point. Do you know any status on that? Because Mr. Girardi indicated there was a demo that was to come before council for demolition.
And again, I believe at this point, he's not bringing it through as far as for the demo because they are currently using that as far as a lay down area with some of the projects within the city, both street paving and as well as I believe they're storing some of that material for the Cummings College building out there.
Yeah,
And
outside for sure on the lot, but
Yeah.
there's the building that was the office. That's like a 2-story thing with weeds growing all over it.
Well, what I will do is I'll go back and address that with the owner and get one of the officers out there to basically revisit as far as the exterior of the building.
Yeah,
Because I guarantee it's not connected to utilities and hasn't been for a long time.
According to our minutes, there was a demolition permit. Mr. Girardi received a demolition permit.
And again, I'd have to go back through there. I can tell you even if he received it and it was not issued, anything that is required to be issued by the current, there is a different set of guidelines that we are utilizing for that. So I will address that as well. Take a look at that and then inform the board next month.
Okay.
Great. The other property that was in the minutes is the Webster School.
Right. That was the one.
And then Mr. Girardi, I think, had a meeting set up with them. Do we know or what happened with that?
My understanding, the meeting did not occur. I have reached out to them to set something up because I know that there is, depending on what they're looking at doing, may require to go through a process through the zoning hearing board. And I do have something set up next week for me to sit down and talk to them and discuss basically the zoning aspect of it And then at that point to see what they're going to do moving forward to keep it off of this list.
Yeah, because we did have a hearing on that, right? And we gave that, they had an extension or something, right?
I know they did they did apply for a permit for that, and that's in the process of being looked at to be determined what we need to do to issue the building permit.
If I can jump in here real quick, Jennifer, yes, we did have a meeting with that when Mr. Girardi was still here with us, in which the property owners of 1663 Webster of Memorial, the Webster School building, were here with us, and they had cited on a couple of occasions the work that they had done to the building. And I believe Mr. Girardi provided us the information that there was never permits that were issued or pulled. There was never permits issued for any kind of work to be done to the building. The property owners then had mentioned that they did a design layout to put apartments in there. Again, during said meeting, I believe Mr. Girardi informed these property owners that they have to do an awful lot more for these apartment designs to be done. That there was, I don't believe the property owners were aware that they're going to have a sprinkler system now that'll have to be installed and of those things. So I don't believe that we granted exemption from Blighted Properties Committee. What I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, what we did is just, there was a hard date, and I forget exactly what the hard date was, that we told them we will grant you to this set date to see what kind of developments that you've made on furthering this project. But until we see any development, we are not going to remove it from the blighted properties list. Does that? Am I off on that with any?
Nope, that's my recollection as well. I don't know what the date is, but certainly the minutes should show what the date that is.
What I'll do is I'll go back and take a look at the minutes. Again, I have reached out to them to sit down and let them know that we have a new interim and there's certain requirements they have to meet regarding their status as far as moving forward, whether they can design it the way that they want to, with it being sprinklered, with the number of units that they can have in there and parking and all of that. So I'm just waiting to set that up with myself, the BCO, and their schedule next week.
And just for these minutes, this property is on Park Avenue. Is that correct, or is it on Memorial?
It's on Memorial.
It's the old Webster School building, Jen. It's on the corner of Memorial.
Is it?
I don't know what that small street's called.
That's okay. I
don't think it's Oliver.
It's not. I don't think it's Oliver either. It's
Bieber, the corner of Market and Bieber. It's the intersection between Blaine Street, Memorial Ave, Bieber Street, right there where Park Pizza.
Park Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have the GIS map pulled up.
Any other questions about commercial properties generally? Okay. Let me get back to my agenda here. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. So on the topic of new business, first I'll throw it to you, Mr. Nar, is there anything you want to present? And then other members of the committee, and then I have some kind of housekeeping things I'm going to recommend. But go ahead.
No, I don't have anything new to add. I know I spoke with a couple other members and they have stuff to add. Like I said, I'm trying to basically move forward to address these type of issues with the zoning hearing board and finalize these couple of properties and continue to work within the program. So I'm asking just be a little bit patient with everything that's going on for me. That's all.
Okay. I'll kind of just go around the room here before I hit mine. Councilman Pelizzi?
Yes, I do. Mr. Nar, I understand as interim, you've got an awful lot going on. You're a man that has to wear many hats right now. But for the record, I just wanted to bring up two properties. And you'll have to forgive me, and maybe somebody knows the specific addresses. And I bring these up, also as a concerned resident of Williamsport, but also as the official that's been designated to this committee, because other Williamsport residents have brought these properties to my attention, both for the safety and security of the community that they reside in. So the first property being Park Avenue. You have to forgive me, I don't know the exact address. This is right across from the community garden.
Is it the greenhouse?
Yes, it is. I'm trying to look up the exact location. Again, like I said, I apologize. I don't know I believe I have it right here, and it is 743 Park Ave, owned by Denise Greniger at 1135 Canterbury Road. I'm pretty sure that's the property. And Mr. Sid First, who spends an awful lot of time developing the community garden and working with the community down there. They're doing a great job. It was brought to my attention by Mr. First and other members of that immediate community as far as it's a safety hazard. And certainly they'd like it addressed.
If I can address that, I know
Yes,
I
sir.
can tell you, it is 743 is on the blighted property list. I will basically work and get a code officer out there to see if we can do any immediate fixes to that and move forward with it being on the blighted property. The next
Thank
course
you.
of action to take with them.
I appreciate it. And again, I understand that we're doing everything that we can. So, but I just got to make sure that I bring these up. And the second and last property I'd like to make people aware of, and I believe it is 1251 Vine Street, in between Greer and Rose Street specifically. The windows, and again, I'm not sure that this is the. Go ahead.
Is this the old church?
No, sir, this is not. This is also a green colored property. Every single one of the windows is broken, is busted out. There's 2x4s and all other kinds of debris laying throughout the property. It does pose quite a, I would say, a problem for the area. And again, I do know that from my quick research, 1251 Vine Ave through 1255 Vine Ave, all the way up to 1257 Vine Ave, are all owned by Brookstone Apartments LLC. Again, first, I'd just like to see if we could get a codes inspector out there to verify that's the exact address. But it does pose quite a safety hazard for the direct community. And I have no idea who did it, why, or under what pretenses, but said I went and saw this property personally, and every single window in it is completely shattered, broken out.
I'll get an officer out there and get everything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nord. I appreciate it.
Anything else, Councilman?
No, Mr. Marty, that's all I have to bring. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing those up. Mrs. Wilson.
I just want to ask, Mr. Nar, you made a comment that said, Mr. Palizzi asked about the property across from the community garden. And I don't think we've talked about that property here before, have we?
I would have to check notes, but I know that it is, yes, it is on the blighted property list.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Ms. Wilson, do you remember shortly after we were all appointed to Blighted Properties Committee, we took a tour throughout the city?
Yes.
This was, I believe, one of the properties that was brought to our attention.
But not one that has stayed in discussion through these meetings. And Mr. Nar, you made the comment, it's on the list. And so I think it just goes to a bigger challenge that we have, that we haven't created an organized way for us to keep track of these properties or have them kind of updated and reported on. And so my hope is that, working with you, we might be able to do a better job of that in the future. Clearly, you knew it was on the list. You recognized it, you said it, but we don't get information in a way that I don't think allows us to feel like we have the same
I believe I believe there was a report, and I'm looking at it back in December 10th, 2021. So my plan of it is I'm going to go back through the different meeting minutes and see what we have as far as exactly on there. And then each month when we have these discussions, I'll be able to give you a breakdown of where we stand, what we're doing with it, how many times we've had an officer out, what we're working with to address that for each one of the ones that are on the blighted property. That will be in your report and on your agenda each month.
That's great.
Just to follow up on that, I think probably one of the easiest ways to do this, I know Mrs. Wilson even sent Mr. Girardi an example of one when we first started, but if we could just have an Excel document that shows maybe an image of the property that's pulled from the county map, the property identifier from the county, the address, the status, a column that says notes, actions taken by this, letter sent, those kind of things. It would be a live document that we could all access. And frankly, it would be more transparent with the public as well to know what we're doing, what we've done, actions we're considering, those kind of things. I think that would be the most valuable tool and pretty much the way we would do business in the quasi private or private sector for one of these kind of things. So I asked, that was not the way that Mr. Girardi wanted to organize it evidently, but I would ask that you reconsider that because I think that would be the most transparent way to do it and the most efficient way for all of us going forward.
Actually, what we do have is there is an Excel spreadsheet that we do have here and we do utilize. What I'll do is work on getting it so that you have access to it each month prior to the meetings.
That'd be great. And there's a lot of things with OneNote and web-based kind of stuff, depending on, and I'm sure that Chris Black and his team and the others that are better at the stuff than I am could find a way that we could even, get access where councilmen can get access easily and readily to that document. And that way it just lives one place. You can make it so that we can't get in and mess with it. We can just look at it and limit the people who can actually change it to you and Robin and your team. But I think that would be the most valuable thing.
I'll work on that with Chris Black then.
Great. Mrs. McDonald. Okay. Any other new business? Mr. Mimi, you're here representing the mayor, I believe. Anything from you?
No, typically I'm here with any concern with the redevelopment authority and our handling of the properties that the Blighted Properties Committee passes on. And we will continue to work on that as funding becomes available.
And I believe that the redevelopment authority has a meeting coming up next week.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hearing no other new business and having conducted everything on the agenda, I think we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you, Mr. Nar. Thank you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Hi, Robin.